Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. We're so glad to have you here today. Thank you for logging in this afternoon. Hope you are enjoying this. I don't know. If you like the gray clouds, then this is the day for you in June. Hope you are faring well through the awarding season. I know there's a lot going on. We'll let people get in here and we'll get started here in just a moment. I know I'm looking forward to the summer. Summer actually happening. So come on, sunshine, let's do it. Okay, I think people will be trickling in, but I think most of the people that signed up for this one are in here. Again, just welcome. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my slides and we'll get going here. All right. So in case you didn't know, you're here today to do the final interim walkthrough. As you know, the interim opened up today. So perfect timing to do a little bit of a reminder, a full walkthrough of the the final interim process. And then have some time for Q&A. So just note that you can ask questions throughout the presentation. Please feel free to do so. And we are happy to address those as they come up. And we love to hear from you, especially if there's things that, aren't going right or something that's just been sitting in your mind for a while and you're like, what is the answer to that? And how did I fix that? That's what we're here for today. So it's a very interactive space. Please be sure to let us know anything that you have on your mind. So speaking of that, behind the scenes, I have the fabulous Gabrielle Matul-Wurst, and she's helping with quite the Q&A portion. She'll be jumping in intermittently as questions arise and being fabulous Q&A help. And then my name is Carly Curley. I'm the Assistant Director for Need-Based Programs. I use pronouns she and her. I get to work with the interim report with all of you and working and getting that complete together, getting that data pushed out so we can serve our students better and get that pushed to legislators and people that are making decisions when it comes to aid for our students. My visual description, I have a Wasac Pride background. Happy Pride to all that celebrate. I'm a plus size woman with blonde hair, wearing black cat eye glasses today with fair skin and a green shirt. And I'm just excited to go ahead and get started here with y'all. So I've been introduced, you know who's helping you out in the background and in the forefront here from Wasac. We may have some other Wasac staff joining us on this as well, who are wonderful and helpful as we go. We're going to talk about file upload options. We're going to talk about the interim process walkthrough. So we'll literally go into Seesaw in the portal training site and walk through a file upload to submitting the interim report. So we're going to get to do that together today. We will talk about just a couple of reminders to think about with the final interim specifically, and then we'll allow for some more time for Q&A if you have any other questions that we haven't addressed throughout the program here. So let's go ahead and get started with some file upload options. So the full file upload is probably what most people are the most familiar with, just because this has been the process for so many years, and especially if you've been doing the interim for some time. Very, very familiar with this. This will be phased out next year, so don't be nervous. We'll definitely provide you some support, and I'm going to talk more about the incremental file load here next and how that can really take care of any type of process that you have. But what the full file load does, it loads all student data. Now, this is good and bad because it's going to load it all in there, but it also overwrites anything that was in Seesaw ahead of time. So if you've already addressed edits, you've already put all your student data in there, every start with a full file upload means that it will delete any information that was in there prior. So you may have to address or readdress edits for certain students. If you did not correct, any types of changes that were that you've made in previous interim reports, or perhaps it might be re-overwriting different edits that are in the portal. So one thing to know is that that's what this file upload type does and how it's used, and that we will be phasing that out for next year. In steps the incremental file load. We introduced this file type this past year, and this file type is able to do a bunch of things. We first referred to it as a change file, change only file, or incremental file. And that's because this file type can be used to put change only records. So for example, if you need to delete a record or you needed to add a student record because you recently awarded someone, this is a way, if your system allows, to pull that information, just anything that has changed since you last put it into the Seesaw, and you could just upload that information. So what that means for you is if you're putting only change only information, that means that you don't have to, override different edits again. You don't have to address different edits again. You'd only be addressing edits for students that were put on that file. And so there is a additional column. The only difference as far as formatting for your system is that there's an additional column that says is delete. If there's a Y in that column, it will delete the student records associated with that Y. So that's a way to delete the records if for some reason the student changed or they transferred or they no longer have any aid awarded, you could use that. In addition to change only, you can load your full student data as well. So you can use this file either for changes, deletes, or you can go ahead and add all of your students on it as well. So you're not going to be missing out on anything if you don't have the full file load. Couple things we love about the incremental file. One, if it's a change only file, it's going to be quicker for you. It's not going to take as much time in the system to upload, and just is more flexible for you and could potentially be more efficient in terms of having to readdress edits. So we love that. Any change to lowering the amount of edits that you have to address is, we think, a positive change for sure. For those that have done the unit record report before, this type of file is used for the unit record report. So it's very similar to that process. So if you're familiar and your system has a functionality for that, it'll be similar for the incremental report. So might be something you'd have to talk with your IT team or whoever manages your system to see if it's possible to pull change only information. But if not, don't be afraid. You can do all your student information on this file too and still get that information into Seesaw. So a couple reminders about when you are working on, well, I guess a reminder when you're working on the file upload. We had a really excellent question some months back about what do you put when a school, specifically for Bridge, if a student transfers to another school and they've already received the full 500 out of school, what do you put on your file for those students? Do you put $0 for need met, or do you leave it blank? And so this is kind of just a moment to talk about what need met means on the file versus blank. Blank means they don't have eligibility, and so you don't have to put a number in there. Seesaw is going to read need met awards, $0 awards, as if the student was eligible, but they just didn't have enough need. So in the case of a student that transferred, had already received their full eligibility of Bridge, you would leave that blank. You would use $0 awards for those that you know could have had the eligibility, but because of their need, they couldn't receive it. So an excellent time to use this would be, say a student's eligible for College Bound and also Washington College Grant, of course, and they received their full amount of Washington College Grant, but they didn't have room for CBS for some reason. You would put $0 in the CBS spot. And then also you would avoid an edit that you'd have to address by telling the system that the need was met already. If you hadn't, there would be another edit to say, hey, you need to award some CBS funds, and you'd have to override it. Another thing to look at. So this is kind of when and where to utilize blank versus $0 awards, and also could save you some time by using $0 if that's the situation. So if you're ever looking for templates for these files right now, both of them are up. FAA resources, I always talk about it just because I utilize it all the time myself, going there to look up our manual or looking up an award chart or something like that. It's a great space to find anything that you need. Even beyond our programs, you can find all the WASAC program or most WASAC program manuals here. And so you can find the file upload templates there. Anytime those are changed to those, we will absolutely update them and post them here. Additionally, we will post them in the portal when you go to the upload tab, which we will be doing together shortly. And again, those will be always up to date as if we make any changes. We'll definitely, of course, let the community know, but then we'll also post them here. So just be rest assured that everything that is posted is the most up to date. So I was thinking about the final interim and I was like, what are a couple things that we need to tell people in terms of some edits to be aware of? So we've had a couple schools have this edit, and just to be sure, this is not something that's going to show up very often. This will probably be an edit that you may receive one or two, maybe more as we grow our apprenticeship programs. But I wanted you to be aware of this. So the edit says the student has been awarded WCG and WGA in the same academic year. And so kind of how this is functioning is kind of like the combined enrollment edit. So you're looking at they're awarded both places. Are they awarded correctly or are they over awarded? We just want to make sure. But in this case, we know that you don't have the information for the WA grant for apprenticeship program. And so we've given you a couple overrides of how to handle this edit. So, like I said, this happens when a student has received Washington College grant at your school already and has also received WA grant for apprenticeship. And that's why this would pop up. So when you see this edit, you can override it in a couple different ways. One, if you've talked with us already and you adjusted your cost of attendance and we've talked through any changes that need to be made, you can just select my college paid on the adjusted COA, tuition and books only. But for most people, I think that the first edit will be the one or override you would want to use, which is WASAC to verify that the student is not over awarded between WCG and WGA. So this is a great reminder that every time you override something, know that someone on our side is reviewing those things. So I typically am the one, but also Gavi, who's wonderful, and others from our team might be reviewing these overrides, and they will we'll take a look at that and we'll do the behind the scenes work. And then if anything needs to change or anything like that, we'll definitely connect with you and let you know. So just want to give you a heads up if you see it and you're like, what is that? What is that edit? I've never seen that before. Something to be aware of. The other one I thought we could talk through for this upcoming final interim is if you still have students on the student is okay to award, not okay to pay, hasn't been awarded. Probably our favorite edit of the year, everyone, right? If I could hear grumbles, I'm sure I would hear them back here, but I totally understand. We've been living and growing through the checker process this year. Appreciate you all so much for just pointing things out, letting us know, asking for clarification. Those things have made this process so much better. And so I wanted to point this one out because we recently set guidance of what to do if it's at this point in the year post May 1 for students that didn't submit verification items. Okay, so this edit pops up as a result of high school grad year and or high school 2.0 still being at verify, and then therefore the student is likely eligible for CBS. So there's a couple different pathways to take with this one, but you definitely will want to address it before you submit your final interim. So for this one, you can do two things. If you have the documentation and you just haven't had a chance to update the checker, make sure you do that. So you'll want to make sure to update the high school grad year and GPA information if there is GPA with the official or unofficial transcript or GED documentation. Just a reminder that those that are from a non-GPA based school, non-Washington school, homeschooled, or foster youth who have a GED will need to work with the College Bound team at our, well, actually College Bound team, part of our College Access and Initiatives team, to be able to work through what needs to happen and what documentation needs to be collected. But anyone else, like if you have just a Washington State graduate and typical GED documentation, feel free to update the checker with that. Second group of people are those that you've been working on trying to get that transcript all year, and for some reason you just never received it. And we knew this would happen, and we were thinking through how do we address that? What do we do? What's the guidance? And so this will be the same for next year. You'll still ask those students for their transcript when you have these students in likely eligible status. But if post May 1st, if you haven't been able to get that documentation yet, you can update the checker under the high school grad year to transcript requested but not received. And so you will put in information in the reason category, and we want to make sure that you add as much detail as you can. So maybe, we requested transcript on this and this date via email, and did not receive, or something like that. So any other person working with that student can see that in the override section for them. So once you do one of those two things, that will update the checker that will either allow the CBS funds to pay and or bridge to be awarded. And then, yeah, award accordingly or request payment in that case if they are CBS eligible. Okay, so we're going to move into Seesaw. So I'm going to stop sharing here real quick and get our Seesaw information up. Okay, so hopefully everyone is seeing this screen, which I believe you are, the Seesaw training screen. And I'm going to be impersonating Punky Brewster because Punky Brewster obviously works at Punk Rock University. Let's see here. Let me make sure. There we go. Let's make sure. I think you can all see this now. And so, okay, so a little bit about the Seesaw experience and doing the interim report. I always talk about this during interim, but I think it's just the easiest way to think about it in a step-by-step type process. And I know some of us are very much inclined to that. Like, what's the process? Let's see what step-by-step. So that's kind of how I look at these tabs here. I look at them as like a step-by-step, what you need to do to be able to submit the interim report. So like I mentioned earlier, you can see the template types here, and we're going to go ahead and choose our file. Hopefully I'm in the right spot. All right. So just a moment here to recommend and remind that always take a look that you're grabbing the right file, that you're not grabbing something that's going to be the wrong term or maybe the wrong age year, because there isn't a way for Seesaw to check against your system. And so also a reminder that you should be reconciling between your system and Seesaw before you submit your final interim. You want to make sure that you haven't accidentally forgot some of your students on your report, or grab the wrong file, things like that, things that happen and that you wouldn't know until you do the unit record report when it's too late to kind of change some of the funds. So very important. And so I'm going to go ahead and grab my test upload file here that I know works for Punk Rock University. And another note, you'll see the partial changes only. You'll see that even if you have a student file that's full, that has all your students, you'll still see this partial changes because it recognizes it as the incremental file load. So just a little FYI. And also an FYI, I have done this before where I'm looking here and I'm like, okay, go to edits. And then I forget to save the upload. So don't forget to save the upload. Make sure you have that file getting saved to Seesaw. So this might take a little bit depending on how big your file is, depending how busy the system is. But we have been noticing better performance in Seesaw. Hopefully you all have noticed that as well throughout the past couple interim periods. If you do run into Seesaw and you're like, it's not working, I'm receiving errors, you might want to retry within like 5 minutes or so. But if you continue to have problems, please let us know. We can always look into that for you. Happy to. Okay, so we've done the upload process. Something to note is that if for some reason I should have shown it on the previous screen, but if for some reason you have something wrong with your file and it can't read it all the way, it will always tell you what the errors are, what line on your file it is at, and what's wrong with it. So you can always download that via CSV if you want to work through the errors. I find usually it's like one or a couple, like a digit is off or a digit is missing, usually really small things that could be missed, but most of the time pretty successful with just uploading. All right, we're going to move into edits. So this is my moment to share a little bit about, if you recall, or if you had a chance to see the final interim email sent out today, we are having an issue with the WCGC edit popping up for students when it shouldn't be. And so our advice and guidance in this case is to upload your file to Seesaw, but then wait to work edits until the following day to allow that edit to go away. So we have a fix right now for it to go away overnight. And hopefully we're going to have a fix in general for that very, very soon. And we'll let you all know when that's done. This is also just a reminder too, feel free to shoot us an email to WCG email, and I'll show that here at the end. If you haven't been added to our communication, we would love to add you. That makes sure, you know, you can make sure that you can know about any events going on and any information, vital information that we send out. So please do let us know. We can add you to that. All right. With all of that being said, let's go tackle some of these edits. So I'm going to start with the student is bridge grant eligible, but has not been awarded. And so I'm going to sort, doesn't really do it right with numbers, but that's what I usually do, sort by last name. And so what we're seeing here is student is bridge grant eligible, but has not been awarded. So, and it's an overridable edit. So what that means is it's possible for the student not to be awarded bridge if you override that for some reason. So let's go ahead and take a look at a student here. Looking in the student detail is going to be helpful for a couple different reasons for you. There's so much information available on the screen for you that you will be able to see things like the maximum amount of aid they should be awarded right down here. You'll be able to see any other edits that they're experiencing. So instead of addressing each edit type, you could address the student and possibly get rid of several edits. So this is a good example of that. And let's take a look. So one edit on the student level, this is what we call the student level when it's up top here at the blue bar. Total WCG awards for year cannot exceed $2 a maximum. Okay, well, let's see why that is. And let's take a look at these by term edits. CBS student is not okay to pay. Student is bridge grant eligible but has not been awarded. Okay, so we're going to take a peek. So we know that there's three things going on here. And with the test file, of course, it's not perfect. It's not going to recognize their CBS eligibility. So really no one on this file is going to be CBS eligible. And we'll kind of walk through that here throughout our time here. But it's also saying that they're over awarded. And so one thing you can do is you can look here. As you select the term, you will see the max award is going to be listed here that they could receive. So we have a couple things. We see that there's not applicable for CBS, but we also see their bridge eligibility as well as what they're eligible for in WCG. So I can notice right away that this student is less than half time enrolled, but they have $811. Oops, that's not the right number. So we look here and they should receive $235. So the three things we have going on, they have too much of WCG in a term. They should be awarded bridge and they shouldn't be awarded CBS. So one way to manage that is to click on the edit button and go ahead and delete all of the CBS funds. We're going to update this to the 235 as we saw there. And we're going to say, yeah, let's give them bridge. We're going to award it in a lump sum this time and update student. All right, so as you see, doing that update automatically resolved all the edits associated with the student. Now we do see here, hey, the student's attending two different schools, but because the enrollment status, so half-time and half-time, does not exceed full-time, there's no other edit for this student in particular. They maybe are attending both places half-time, and that's okay, and they can receive those funds. That's totally fine. And it's really on Pop U to deal with their stuff. but we are Punk Rock U and we're doing great. We've already addressed the student and we've taken care of 3 edits in 1. So that's kind of why I like to do student detail when working on these students. Now, let's say I'm going to refresh this, take a peek, see where we're at now. So we have these students, say for this student that's attending half-time, you're like, okay, like they actually were in 2 credits. I already know that they're not bridge grant eligible. And so you want to override them. We will always have a list of different overrides below the override here. You can feel free to use the ones that are already created. Usually we try to think of each scenario, but you never know. There's always wonderful things that happen that are like, wow, I didn't even know that could be a thing. So you don't have to type anything in here. Feel free to select one. So for example, student is enrolled in less than 3 credits. That would be the reason for this one. Or we're going to click override. Now, let's take a peek at this student. So I see they have CBS, so we know no one's going to be CBS eligible, but let's take a look and see what's going on with them and see if they have any other edits to resolve as well. Okay, so nothing on the student level. Let's take a peek on the term level. Okay, so these are both a student that is not eligible for CBS and is eligible for Bridge. So we're going to go ahead and delete this. And we'll say, hey, we changed to a proportional awarding because WASAC encouraged that. It's my plug to encourage proportional awarding. We've found throughout this year that schools, especially when students transfer or not having a way to easily kind of recognize, depending on when people put their information in Seesaw, that a student's already received Bridge, it's a lot easier if the school awards proportionally, both for transfer students and also for those that may have changes to their eligibility from CBS to Bridge or vice versa. Then it's a direct swap instead of having to worry about a change if you switch from Bridge to CBS because of newly found eligibility. So that's our little plug and encouragement, and maybe schools to work together to maybe to do that as an awarding practice. But you are welcome to do lump sum if that's what's best for your students. All right, so I updated this. You will see all of the edits went away. And when we go back to the edits page, we're probably going to see that there is a lot less because, yeah. Oh, well, 27. I thought we would have a lot less, but apparently we've gained some more. So let's take a peek and keep seeing what we got going on here. All right, so we have this student. Again, it's probably that they need to have Bridge awarded. And you can see here that this is a history of edit messages. So I love this right here, because this is where if you are working on your edits and you see, wait, all these students show back up in my edits and I already did them, I already overrode them. Sometimes you may be wondering, like, why is that happening? And that's because in the background, we've reviewed the edit and we've said, oh no, that doesn't work for this student. And this is where you will see that message information. So we will always put a reason if we aren't able to approve an edit, or sorry, an override. We will put that information here in this section. So just know that. So over here, you can see, oh, it was actually overridden before, but let's see what we're going to do now. So in this case, we're going to say, okay, let's go ahead and delete the CBS. And we're going to update the student. But in this case, we're like, you know what? Actually, the student didn't have need. And so let's go ahead and update their Bridge with $0 awards because their need was met. We're going to update student. All right, so you can see here that took care of it. If I did not put zeros in the Bridge section, then I would have to address the Bridge grant edit as well. But because I put the zeros indicating need is met, I don't have to override it to say need met with other grants and scholarships. So that's just a little time saver there. Okay, we're going to refresh here. All right, we're down to 15. Let's go. Real quick, I'm just going to deal with these just so that I can, so don't pay attention to this, is not what I want you to do, but just so that we can move through with the interim process. So we're going to delete awards. There we go. Okay, so next one, total Bridge grant exceeds yearly max. So this is going to be a student that is enrolled in multiple schools, kind of the situation we were talking about for proportional awarding, where they actually should have received, or they already received $500 in Bridge grant elsewhere. So let's take a look at the actual student record here. So you can see that they've been enrolled both places. They've had Bridge at both places. And so this is a situation where typically you're talking to another school and you're saying, hey, is that student awarded here? I didn't know that they, attended there, and work with it with the school. So in this case, we're going to pretend that the student did not attend PRU for fall or winter term, but they did attend spring. So we're going to go ahead and adjust their amounts. Easy way to get rid of everything in a line here is just to put the blank space. Gets rid of it all. And we're going to say, yep, they're still eligible for that Washington College grant. So let's take a peek and see what our error says now. Combined enrollment status cannot exceed full-time for a single term. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to override it because we've checked with PopU and we know that the student didn't attend spring, but PopU just hasn't had a chance yet to update Seesaw. And so we're going to go back to this edit. So let's go back here. We're going to go to the combined enrollment status edit. And when this is the case, you will use the My College Verified with the other college that the student is not enrolled there and click override. So PopU will still have to deal with the edit on their side because now they have been awarded full-time at 2 places. They'll have to deal with that as in terms of either adjusting their cost of attendance and or deleting it if the student is not enrolled there. But then there's nothing else to do in terms of from your side of things. Okay, so let's take a look. We have 9 more left. Let's see. Total WCG awards for the year cannot exceed $2 of maximum. So let's see what's going on with these students. A lot of times I will be like, no, that's the right amount. And then I'll look at the, the number, the enrollment and be like, oh, just kidding. And actually you can always see that right here. So for this student, it's an easy fix. Let's see if they have any other edits. Award exceeds maximum eligible, already or overrode the bridge. Okay, so let's take a look here and adjust the student to 235. Great. So you can see that that took care of it. No problem for that student. We'll talk a different scenario for others of these. Let's see. I always like to refresh just to make sure everything's, I'm not having to double do things. So this one, I believe, is a good example of being over awarded just in general. So it looks like this student kind of is awarded according to 65% MFI. But a lot of times I will, I would be in here, be working on the interim, and I'm like, I don't understand. Why is it looks right. But then, you have your maximum award amount here, and you have your MFI right here that's causing the change to the award amounts. And this does happen sometimes. On one file you've uploaded, they had, income, but you did verification. And then the next file, their MFI is higher. That could be a reason why you see a change there. You'll also see the student level edits both up here and here. And so this is kind of just a matter of fixing their Washington College Grant Award because they're just over awarded in every single area here for the 75% MFI. So we're going to update that. And this is my chance to see how well my memory is working at 2:30 p.m. on Monday. But I think I got it now. So I think I have, let's see, halftime is 1:15. Do that right. Wait, it was a 1:17. We'll see. Oh, 2:31. Oh, I almost did it, y'all. Almost. See, and good thing you can actually see when you're still haven't quite done it right. So, but you can see here now the students awarded according to their MFI. They're good to go. You can move forward with the rest of your edits. So let's see who we have left here before we submit the interim report. All right, test 51. What's going on here? So we see the student has 100% MFI right here. We see the full-time award is 94. Some reason our file pulled a weird amount or we didn't get a chance to change it. So we're going to go ahead and edit that to 94. And we're good with that one. Okay, so let's see what the last couple edits are. Oh, we took care of it. All right. So we walked through the edits. I know we all wish that would be as easy as that was. But hopefully this gives you a little bit better of an idea of like flow, how to work through it, a good idea for working at the student detail record. And yeah, all of those different things. Hope that was helpful for you. Now you will see here, you can go straight to the interim report tab, but like I talked about, you want to do it as a step-by-step basis. So next we're going to request funds because for the final interim, you need to request funds before you can submit your interim report. Easiest way to do that, choose all students by term program. We're going to select this. And I will tell you, because we are in here earlier today, we already did a request funds. So this is a great example to show, even if it's negative, you want to request those funds. So you want to request all positive, all negative, all funds for all terms when it comes to the final interim. What you'll see here too is that you can download your request by term. And as soon as we do agree request funds, you'll have an opportunity to download a CSV file for all of the students within that request. And sometimes that could just be helpful for your finance department. Or if you're looking to see, who it was that you made a request for, you can always review that in the CSV file as well. Okay, so I agree. Request funds. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Here you'll see a whole amount of what's been requested, who we requested the funds for. This is including everyone from today, so it's like a cumulative thing. And that is the next step. Also, if you go back here and you choose this again, you'll see that there's no unpaid awards for your institution. That's what you want to see when you're submitting the final interim report. So now we go to the interim report tab, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what is going to be helpful in here. So a couple of things to take a look at. You could see total funds requested, awards reported. For us, this is 0. So that means that there's no difference in what we've reported and what we've requested. If there is a difference, if you will owe back WASAC some funding after all is reconciled and said and done, then you would see a negative amount here. Now that will still let you submit your interim report. It's just something good to know and another way to know kind of what to expect. You can download the CSV of students by fund type. You can download all of them by fund type. And then I want to talk about a couple of different places you should do a double check before you submit your final interim. So what we can see here is that you can compare each term. Since this is a test file, we don't have all of the other terms in play here, but this is a good place to say, like, okay, in 22-23, we had this many awards at the end of the year, and we're only requesting 59,000. There might be something wrong with this. We might be forgetting some students in our report. Same with the bridge award. They're going to be fund specific this way. And that could be a way to just double check and cross check your reporting. Also here, you're going to be able to see a comparison between FTE and students. So you could see here, oh, wow, we had 132. Now we only are reporting 28. There might be something wrong with our file. So these are just some kind of good checks to do. And in fact, those are checks that I do when you submit your interim report to make sure things are looking like they make sense. So in this case, I would be like, wow, I need to rerun this and redo my report because I'm missing some students probably. Also, your receivable information will be here with any statuses that need to change for students. Now, we don't necessarily need to walk to the Students tab, but I just want to point out the Account Status tab will also have a cumulative record of your account and will show you any funds that will have an owing or balance to WASAC after the final interim. So you can click on the fund type, and usually there's going to be some information as far as like funds drawn, and there would be more information in a negative number here if we needed to return those funds to us. That is it for the Seesaw portion. I don't think we have any Q&A right now, so I'm gonna move back. Let's go ahead and move back to the presentation, which I believe is right here. Okay, so just a couple reminders, and please do, like I said, keep sharing any questions you have, and we will have some more time here at the end to go through that. But here's some things we want to let you know. You want to make requests for all payments before submitting your report. Of course, we're just talking about that. Make sure you include all terms, all funds. If there's and that's including passport support funds as well. You want to make sure that you request all of those as well. If there's an owing balance, you will know in a variety of different ways. So we've talked about in Seesaw, you'll see that on your interim report. When on that interim report submission page, you will see it in the account status tab. And we will also send you an email to say, here's what you will owe, and include the passport folks on that email so that they can chime in as if there's some support funds owed or anything like that. So that's something you can expect to receive from us. And just like we said, the information is always available under the account status tab as well. Reminder to pay close attention to the due date. So the due date for this report is going to be July 15th. And we had an excellent question in the first session about what about if your trailer school, is that still your due date? And when is the last day to request funds? So the due date is still July 15th, but if you need to add students, you can always contact us. We can reopen your interim report so you can add those students and request funds, but no later than August 1st. So August 1st is the due date for that and the last date that funds can be requested for trailer schools summer students. So something to just to be aware of. And then, yeah, start early. We always recommend that. If you could start early, believe it or not, I already have a report submitted today. I'm so impressed. If you the earlier you start, the less hard it is, because typically what happens is if you are submitting, on the last day, we might have some overrides that we couldn't approve, and then you'll have to go back in and do those things. It could just be a little stressful. So just thinking about, I know there's so much workload right now, but just trying to provide a suggestion as you go throughout this time. We always allow usually for 4 to 5 weeks between due date and opening date, so that allows more time. But yeah, always recommend starting early because you never know. You could be a beast, and you're going to work through it hopefully a little bit at a time. And then, of course, we're always here for you. I'm here for you specifically if you need some training, some one-on-one. I know we've had people that have been stepping up to do the interim that weren't doing it before, and there might be some stuff that just isn't making sense to you. Please reach out. We have the WCG email here. I'm available to spend time with you, give you a call, schedule a training session, whatever you need that would be helpful for you to complete this, and it would be supportive to you. So please reach out. Happy to help. I know our whole team is. And really, just if you have questions, we wanted to just give you a little bit of time if you hadn't thought of anything. I know there's a small group with us here today, but just wanted to give an opportunity if anyone did have some questions. I'll stop sharing. Take a peek here. Relatively quiet today. Well, I think it looks like questions have been answered. We've walked through the interim. Give a little bit of more time back to your day today. But again, just all my appreciation for being here, spending time with us to learn more about the interim report. Know that we're here to support you. We know that this is a really, really challenging year and difficult time. So if there's anything we can do to make this process better for you, please reach out. And I just want to wish you the best rest of the week. Have a great day. Thank you, everyone.